Okay, the last section in Chapter 2, Interactive Programs. So far we've looked at ways to create strings, develop strings. We've looked at how to create variables and declare variables and assign them values. We've looked at the 8 different primitive data types, and we've looked at expressions, how we can combine those data types to create bigger expressions and then assign those values to other variables. And in the last section, we looked at how to convert certain variable types into others for the purposes of doing some computations and such. Now, the only thing missing now is how do we get this data that we want to put into variables into the program? So we all need input on which to operate, and there is a class called the scanner class that provides us convenient methods for reading input values of various types so that we can then get the information and then store it in the appropriate data type. So what we can do is we can set up a scanner object, read input from various sources, including the user typing values on the keyboard. So in our case, this is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be getting input from the user via the keyboard, okay? And the keyboard in Java, the input from the keyboard is represented by the system.in object. So we have an object called system.in, and that is going to, in effect, represent any input that we are keying in from the keyboard. And we'll see how that works. So first of all, we need to create a scanner object that reads from the keyboard. So scanner scan equals new scanner, and then in brackets, the object that represents the keyboard, system.in. Now there's a few things that we haven't seen here before. One of them is the new operator, and that's what creates the scanner object. And we'll see this pattern as we move through the topic. We'll see this pattern more and more often because we'll be creating more and more objects to do our job. Remember, Java is an object-oriented programming language. So we are going to be creating lots of objects, and the new operator will be featuring prominently as we do that. So here we've got a variable called scan up here, of type scanner, and it is assigned the value using the equal sign, a new scanner, and then in brackets, the object that represents our keyboard. Okay. Once we've got this scanner object, we can use it to invoke or use various input methods, such as answer equals scan.nextLine. So answer would be of typically a string type variable, and the scanner object that we have would grab the whole line that you've just typed on the keyboard in the console, and it would assign it to the variable called answer. Now, the scanner is part of a package called java.util, and it's a library that has a lot of different classes in it. Now, we don't get it for free in our Java programs. We have to use what's called an import statement so that we can actually use it. And when we have a look in the workshop, we'll have a look at how we import the classes that we can, or the classes that we can use to affect this input. So in the previous slide, we saw the next line method. And what that does, it reads all of the input until the end of line is found. And in the echo program, we will actually see that in effect, and we'll have a look at that in the workshop. Now, the details of object creation and the class libraries are discussed further in Chapter 3, which will be the next series of videos, and we will have a look at that in more detail then. Now, when we are getting information from the command line or from the console, unless we specify otherwise when we create our scanner object, white space is used to separate the elements, called tokens of the input. Now, the white space is your typical typical candidates, includes the space, includes tabs, new line characters. They're all deemed as white space. So when we get the next line, it just grabs everything from the start of the line until it finds the new line character. The next method of the scanner class reads the next input token and gives it to you as a string, or in Java parlance, returns it as a string. Okay, so the next method. So it will find a token which will be delimited by 2 pieces of white space. There are other methods such as nextInt and nextDouble, and they will actually grab or read in the next input token delimited by white space, but it will try and convert it to an int or a double. So we can in effect type in the literal 23, assign it as an int using the nextInt method, and it will do the conversion for us. And similarly with nextDouble. And in the gas mileage program, we will see some different ways of doing that, and that will be the subject of the workshop video.